Hello, everyone. I have this idea. By the way, who am I? I am a father and a philosopher, amateur philosopher. I didn't go to college to get a degree. I studied on my own in psychology, spirituality, economics, politics, history, a variety of topics and subjects. I don't claim to be an expert and necessarily an expert in anything, but I'm certainly on a peer level with people who are in academic levels of things like psychology and philosophy. Now, I have a sort of metaphor that I've been thinking about for some time, and I want to go over the basic principle of the metaphor, the basic idea of the metaphor with you all. Now, this is a very important idea. It's a very important concept to our modern times because what essentially it does is it indicts the politically correct cultural narrative and the identity politics pretty head on. In fact, I believe that this is the way to dismantle it. So using their own symbolism, funnily enough, I mean it couldn't be better. They really picked the worst possible symbol for their movement, unfortunately, and fortunately, because this allows us to poke holes in it very easily. Now, the point is basically that there's a metaphor for light. Okay, light is truth. It's singular, it's undeniable, it's powerful. It is the key to knowledge. Without light, you wouldn't be able to read. So, light is essential to all things. Without light, you wouldn't have life. Because without light, you wouldn't have plants, and if without plants, you wouldn't have food. So, basically, the truth is that light and truth are essential to our productivity, our life, our existence on this earth and in reality. Light is essential. Now, light contains within it a spectrum, a hidden spectrum. When it's put on the scale of humanity, truth and existence and your existence as a human being has a hidden reality of diversity. The idea of personality, the idea that while genetically speaking, we may be virtually identical, the underlying differences in personality make us almost two different organisms to a certain degree. In certain cases, people can vary so greatly from one another that they can almost appear to be different altogether species, when in fact it's been body modifications and totally altered life paths. Now, from that, I have to say that if you overemphasize the rainbow, you become deluded, delusional, perhaps disordered. Disorder is rooted in the rainbow. And by that I mean focusing on the physical and ignoring the mental. Now, what I mean by that is specifically focusing on all the categories of your person, your mask, this organism, this space suit, whatever you want to call it. The organism, the person is a mask. The personality is an expression of that mask. It's not an expression of the identity, which is the consciousness, which is the light that's in all things, that's animating all things. It's an expression of really the darkness. In order for a rainbow to even be vibrant, the darker the storm, the brighter the rainbow. The more ignorant you are, the more likely you are to be controlled and think in the premise of the rainbow, of all of this great diversity. Well, that's an illusion. The illusion is the diversity. The diversity is the illusion. The truth is the underlying unity, which is so harsh for the ego to perceive because it doesn't want to have this idea that it's not unique. You're not unique, by the way. You're not a unique snowflake. And it's okay. It's okay not to be a unique snowflake. It's okay to like things that other people like. You know, it's okay to have a sense of unity with other human beings. I realize that this has been culturally dismantled in the human psychological phenomenon, but the reality is, gosh, Jimmy Jillikers, we're more alike than we are different. Seriously. And so the reality is, we've focused on this rainbow. We've been fed a rainbow our whole lives to such a degree that we've lost sight of the truth. And the truth will set us free. The light of the truth will set us free. Unfortunately, what has happened is that, and it comes down to governments. It comes down to the ordering systems that exist in the world of man have acted as a sort of prism to break the truth, to shatter it and to cast it into the public in order to persuade them in a belief that they are separate from one another and need to be infighting constantly about arbitrary, stupid bullshit that doesn't even apply to them. Doesn't even fucking apply. Yet, we're basically still fighting over the scraps from our ancestors' tables. Okay? And it's fucking stupid. But the way out of that is to recognize that we're all one at a deepest level. The deepest part of me is the deepest part of you. And that's what's going to unify us, and that's what's going to bring us all together, not fighting for a specific bandwidth in that spectrum, but fighting for the entirety of the light. We have to be fighting for the truth, not fighting for the illusion, and legitimizing that illusion by embracing the categories that governments have pushed upon us, acting as a kind of crystal dagger, let's say, that cuts open the light and exposes the innards of that light, almost like the entrails or the guts of light are the rainbow colors. The colors are just ribbons of light almost. And so they have, through ignorance, by keeping us in ignorance, they feed us the rainbow and give us very limited amounts of light. The light is always cast into the crystal. It's always there. They wield it because of their ability to say we are the ones in power. And so because they wield that crystal, they have the ability to distribute the information, and via the black box in everyone's home, transmit, and by the way, that transmission is in the form of a rainbow with the red, blue, and green colors. It's even more limited actually than the true spectrum of light that's generated by the rainbow. So the whole point is basically that the status quo has used ignorance to perpetually keep us in a state of delusion about what identity is and what it implies. Because the whole reason there's a pope is because he's supposed to be the personal relationship or the ambassador for God. right? Well, what if he's unnecessary? What if we are all avatars of that very thing, and the identity, the sense of consciousness or mind is kind of the God spark in each and every one of us that the church has to deny in order to keep its legitimacy. And then the governments grow out of that premise. Kings, the legitimacy of kings comes from the divine right of kings. Okay? So the divine right is basically the same as the Pope. They were just not. Basically, what a king is a guy who says, hey, I want to be a pope. Well, you can't be a pope. Well, then I'll be a king. It's basically the same thing. After the Holy Roman Empire established that only the Pope can be the ambassador, there were people who were ignorant for a good a few generations, but then they caught wind. They became wise to the bullshit of the fact that there's a Pope, and they said, I want to be a Pope. God has ordained me. I'm a king now. So it's like so arbitrary. And then it transferred into from King George to the American government and the disbandment of nepotistic sort of government to a system where they're chosen from among the people as representatives, but still, nonetheless, you're trying to change and maybe transmute the beast, but it's still a beast. It's still basically they've gotten the divine right from us abdicating our divine right. We all have a relationship with God directly through consciousness. If we are deeply in a relationship with consciousness, we don't need to have government anymore. Because if you deeply understand the nature of consciousness, the reality is the self, the true self, is singular, universal. And so why would I ever have a beef or aggression or whatever towards another person? Now, granted, I can always hate myself, I guess, or hey, I'm only hurting myself, so why don't I, hurt this other person? But when you truly deeply understand that concept, you don't hurt other people because you realize that you are those other people. Literally. If you identify with the identity and not with the person, it changes everything. So that's it. Like and subscribe, share. Please. I'm spending like an inordinate amount of time preparing and making these videos. I really would appreciate. A lot of this comes from years and years of research and philosophical study and just general experience. Please like and subscribe so that this stuff can get shared with other people and so that the algorithm doesn't butt fuck me till Tuesday. In any case, I love and appreciate all of you. I hope you're all having a blessed day. Peace.